is Insight. Phone lines are open. Dial 384-2191.
It is a Friday, and in December here, the second Friday of the month, and that means that on the second Friday we talk to public officials. Second Friday is for Marshfield PD, and joining me in studio here, we've got the lieutenants, Dennis Keffer and Travis Esser. Good morning.
Good morning.
Finally, something to talk about. Normally, we're doing, oh gosh, when's the stop sign? When do we move around the speed limit signs? That's about as
or the snow emergency.
Controversial. Yeah. Now the snow emergency. Yeah, that's it. Right. Yeah. No, we had a standoff. Some people were talking about. Describe the situation as you would, please.
Sure. So we just had an individual in the city here who has been experiencing some decline in their mental capabilities, and so we were asked to come out and assist with that by family members, and it turned into, as you said, a little bit of a standoff that lasted for, I think, about 26 hours, all said and done. So we were present during that whole time, and of course had intermittent negotiations and talks back and forth with that subject, and ultimately the end result was as good as we could hope for. The subject was taken into custody, and nobody was hurt at all. So that's our goal.
I applaud your patience. That's one thing. I mean, you've been out there a long time, and I suppose on 24-hour watch, somebody had to be dedicated to that. And you had other agencies involved as well, so somebody took the watch from time to time. Was that just... you weren't going to go in and cause a problem? Was it necessary to storm the place, or? It
wasn't necessary because the individual was the only person in the residence, and in that particular case, when somebody's unstable, we don't want to escalate that situation in any way, shape, or form if we can help it. But we also have to balance that with, other neighbors and people close by too, to try to make sure that we can adequately contain that as well. So we felt able to do all of those things without pushing it, and taking our time and trying to work through that so that we would get the result that ultimately ended up happening. And 26 hours is a long time, but there was a period overnight where things were pretty quiet, and there wasn't active negotiations going on, certainly not that entire time. So it was worth waiting for that to happen.
And what we were hearing was simply just stay away from this area, so everybody starts drawing conclusions as to what do you think is going on over in that vicinity. But it seems like that draws rubberneckers. You're in a bad spot there, and it's been that way since I can remember. Do you tell people what's going on, or that there's something going on, or do you just not tell anybody anything and hope for the best?
That's $1 million question. I think we've erred on the side in the past of trying to inform people that, or at least request that people stay out of that area, hoping that a great percentage of them will. But you're right, we still get a number of people who want to come out there and see what's going on, and so that's what we set up outer perimeters for, to try to lock that down the best that we can, and keep people from coming in for their own safety. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and we have to deal with that as it flows.
How do you deal with neighbors that want to come and go?
Well, in this particular circumstance, we were able to get most neighbors to their homes. It was just the homes that were directly next door that we were most concerned about, and so we had asked some of those individuals to kind of hunker in place and not be out and about in their yards and things like that, but to more so just stay inside and or in their basement if they felt most comfortable.
Talking with Lieutenant Travis Esser here, Marshfield PD, on this second Friday in December about a incident that happened in the northwest side of Marshfield. As he said, 26 hours they were talking to somebody. And from the report, the posting that you had, it was somebody came outside with a long barrel, and so went back inside, and at that point all your hackles go up and say, this is going to be a bad situation, or has the potential to be.
Right, and that certainly did escalate the situation when the individual did come outside and had a long gun slung around their body. And I know we've talked numerous times before about the potential whether or not we need that armored vehicle that we've talked about on this program before. And I can just tell you from having been there the last 2 days that that piece of equipment certainly helped us a ton. When you have an individual walking outside with a firearm, instead of trying to hide behind a little maple tree or something, it's much easier and safer for us too, which ultimately means safer for the community if we can get close and still have that armor protection to be there and communicate from it. I mean, we have a PA system on it, and so we were able to give verbal commands and things like that, and ultimately that was a pretty short portion of the incident in which he went back inside relatively quickly, and so we continued negotiating by phone then again after that.
Well, that was my next question then. It was by phone. You didn't have the PA going all day.
Right, a little bit of both, but we tried a couple different PAs, but primarily by phone.
Talking with Travis Esser here, Lieutenant with Marshfield PD, about an incident that happened over the first week here in December on the northwest part of town. It doesn't happen very often, so I wanted to ask him about the situations that go on. And as it's happening, people are asking me, and I'm like, I don't know. I can't say anything on here on the microphone without having authority to do so. Sure. I can tell you out in the hall what I think, but that's about what you hear in the tavern. You know, if some neighbor will snap a picture on their cell phone and say, look, this is what's going on, and suddenly it passes around town and everybody's going, well, how come they're not telling us anything? I said, well, because there isn't anything to tell as of yet. But it wound up, what I noticed first of all was that the wording was homicidal rather than suicidal. So to me, that differentiated that they weren't necessarily going to kill themselves, but they might be interested in doing that to someone else, and that probably came from the fact that they were just simply armed.
Correct, and that's a bit unusual for us. Usually we are dealing, you're right, we're dealing with the more suicidal incident where, somebody's barricaded themselves in their homes and we want to get them out to try to get them the mental health that we need. That still applies in this situation too, because we believe that the subject needed some assistance in the same way. It's just that his state of mind manifested itself more in being willing to harm other people than himself, it appeared.
It seems like, to me, that would be more common but I don't know. It seems to me everybody's a big talker, I guess, until it comes time. But on the other hand, did you talk to him to the point where you thought that could happen? Or was he ever threatening to do that, or was it just simply because he was armed?
I'm misunderstanding your question.
My understanding is that he made some statements that indicated that
he would do that. Okay. Because just being armed is one thing, that I would say, but
correct.
To actually say I'm going to do something is another, and that would up your presence as well as far as what you're willing to walk into.
Right.
Did other assisting agencies? You talked about Marshfield Fire. Why were they involved?
We like to get an ambulance on standby in the event that somebody gets hurt. Certainly, those situations can evolve rather rapidly once we're in them, and to not have the medical personnel nearby to help the subject and or us or anybody else that might get injured throughout the event, then we want that to be readily available. So.
Talking with Travis Esser, Lieutenant Dennis Keffer is here as well on the program today. You can join us, 384-2192, 384-2192. If there's a question you have that I'm not getting to here, I'm just asking a few questions about what I do know and how it was handled here. There will be legal matters that you can't comment on, but from this point here, an arrest has been made?
Well, it was more so a placement in protective custody is what we would call it, to get that person the help that they need. So that's the first step involved. I did see on some reports this morning that there may be a criminal charge coming, but that was not our primary focus during that entire event. It was more so the safety of the people around, and then the person himself, and then to make sure that we can follow through and get the services that might be needed. So hopefully none of this has to happen again.
Well, this is one of those cases where I draw conclusions that when you come with the armored vehicle, there's going to be charges involved here because you're wasting time. I mean, there's different avenues I've seen for people who run, stealing. I had a news story, stealing a vehicle or something like that, that was done. Slide into the front of the police car, the guy in Rothschild, and took off. while you're trying to investigate the situation, kind of a slippery fella. So, I mean, there's charges for all of that stuff. Running, evading, you guys seem to have something in your back pocket here that you can add on along the way in order to make sure that there's something that can be investigated.
Yeah, there is a criminal charge that we're considering that ultimately the Marathon County District Attorney will have to make a decision on, and it's called, I don't have the exact quote of it, but it's basically failure to comply with officer's attempt to take a person into custody. And so that statute is got a number of bullet points that have to be hit in that for that to fit, and it's designed primarily for the type of situation that we were in the last 2 days, and so it does seem like it fits. But we're going to leave that decision up to the district attorney. So we have explored that, and we'll send that to them for review at this point.
I don't know. Is there an upside other than it becomes more than a slap on the wrist? But if he was just in a bad way at the time, I don't know, making a criminal out of somebody who's mentally unstable, I don't know.
That's the big question,
right,
with all of these situations, and trying to it's very easy to come to conclusions in the bar, like you talked about, or in the hallways when you're talking to people about what should or shouldn't have been done, or what this person needs or doesn't need, and how the system or how society should handle such a problem. So the thing I appreciate hearing as a member of the police department, from the police department, is kind of the open-mindedness to look at this as an ongoing thing and try and find the best solution, whether that be criminal charges or whether that be help for the person or whatever. We'll
or a combination.
Yeah,
and that might be what happens this time.
Talking with Dennis Keffer and Travis Esser here from Marshfield PD. You can too, 384-2192. We're live this second Friday. If you're watching us on video, you could be watching us on Spectrum Channel 989 or on their Facebook page, or go through the city website, and you can find the videos, links to it there, MFLD TV on YouTube. So you can find us several ways here to watch the program. And again, I always say, now we're talking on the second Friday of the month of December. When you're watching this in the future, things that we don't know yet have unfolded in the future. So you're hearing this as we know it now, as things are going on. The talk that I have with Wood County sheriffs and others, CRT is a term you use, called, or is it CIT?
CIT. Well, there's CRT and CRT, but the CIT is the big one, I think, and that's the crisis intervention team, where officers receive extensive training, 40 hours worth of training on mental health, how to communicate with people who are in crisis. And getting a better understanding of the system that's set up to assist those people.
Has your department taken some of that?
I would say 90%, 85% perhaps of the members of our department have been through this training, yes. Did
you feel that helpful in this situation?
I think I don't know how it directly applied to the response, but at the very least I'm confident that it allowed the officers to understand why we may or may not be doing one thing or another at any given time. They know that patience is the best course of action, and trying to communicate and finding the best ways to communicate with people, and sometimes giving things time affords us the best solution.
Do you have someone that you call in or to do negotiation, or is there an officer on staff that does that?
There are multiple officers on staff that are trained in crisis negotiations. That's a step above what we were just talking about. Yeah.
And so you didn't have to call in a mental health professional or anything, or do you have some on speed dial that you might, or if in the case of something like this, or do you feel comfortable with your training to be able to talk to somebody?
No, I'm comfortable with the officers that are trained to do crisis negotiations. We've had many situations where they're able to assist us in positive resolutions that are very much like this. Some of them are as publicly known as this one, and some of them are less so. Just due to the nature of things, and our crisis negotiators have been successful every time so far.
Right.
Talking with Travis Esser and Dennis Kemper here, Marshfield PD, about an incident in the past couple of days here on the northwest side of Marshfield where someone was holed up with armament. A long barrel rifle was seen at some point, and negotiation went on for a long time there before you finally, I guess, waited them out or talked them out, or no pizza deliveries. You hungered them out.
Yeah, none of those this time. But our crisis negotiators did a great job, like Dennis had said, and we did get some help from a family member as well that helped with us in speaking with him and getting him to comply ultimately. So I'd be remiss if we said we did everything there. I think the family was very helpful and definitely helped resolve the situation.
That's one of those things where family really can help by helping you to understand the mindset and talk to your negotiator and say, this is what we know.
Yeah,
how he is.
It can be a double-edged sword because if family is the source of the stress, then maybe that's not the way. But with any situation the police get called to, oftentimes it's a 15-minute snippet, a snapshot of what's going on, when in reality it's 15 years of life that has, bubbled to this point, perhaps, something like that. And so, someone with the bigger picture is can be very helpful.
I don't know if this is the time. I'm sure our colleagues won't enjoy my bringing this up, but at one point here, a news story in the past couple months, the insurance company for Wood County paid off $2.5 million in an incident that happened in the Arpin area where somebody was wound up getting killed at the gun of an officer, a sheriff's deputy in this area. And now I sound like a homer giving you the props here, but Marshfield PD was on national TV for resolving situations at gunpoint that wound up with nobody harmed. Whether it ended in a beanbag round or whether it ended in something, I mean, you've shown a lot of restraint.
I think it's been very circumstantial that has allowed us to have those successful resolutions. And so it's not to say that those the types of concerns that happened in Wood County couldn't happen here and won't happen here. But I'd like to think the community knows that we'll do everything that we can reasonably to resolve situations as peacefully as possible.
Drifting away from the incident, at the time you're watching us here again, this is on the second Friday in the month of December of 2021, a court case going on over in the Minneapolis area of an officer who thought she drew a taser and wound up drawing a firearm and executing basically the guy there accidentally. I mean, the video shows her in tears afterward, which would indicate that she was as surprised at what happened as anyone else, but here we are in the courtroom, and nobody's getting off on this, so we need to get investigation. We need to investigate this, they always say. What's your feelings on something like that?
I don't know that it's one that I want to weigh in on publicly, but those are very challenging because it speaks to the very heart of the challenging nature of law enforcement. And community responsibility, an individual's responsibility, and how to balance all of those things in a dynamic and revolving situation. And so it's a tough one.
Whenever you are wearing a sidearm, things can go wrong in a hurry. And the way that you approach a situation mentally as part of the CIT training is one of those things they teach you. And I've seen some good training, and I've seen some training I go, really?
Yeah.
You're going to come in like John Wayne here, huh? I mean, that's how you approach that. And it depends upon the trainer and how their outlook is about this to get you into...
and community expectations, too. Even with this one, I think there's some community members that are frustrated that we took so much time to resolve this situation. So there's kind of always a no-win, or not 100% win perspective from somebody sometimes. So,
is there a financial impact for something like this? I mean, I'll ask it.
Oh, on the city? Yeah,
Right.
Officers are called in on overtime. Yeah, there's
And
there's
Marathon County's involved? Is there any? Is that just a mutual aid thing that they're okay with that, or they have to pay their officers too?
Most of the time that's the case, and they would pay their officers, or Wood County, because but if it was more of an extended thing, they may ask our department for reimbursement.
I guess that's why you make the bucks. I mean, you got to have that available. When they talk about budgets, I sit here and talk with the county board chairman, and I'll sit here and talk with Steve Varg at the city level and go, how do you budget for that?
Yeah. Well, other than having an emergency reserve for something, and that's something outside of this scope. This wasn't to that scope in my assessment. This was something that where most of the agencies, Marathon County, Wood County, the State Patrol, they know that we're going to be there for them, and to this type of degree, and so they're there for us to this type of degree also.
Well, I've kind of exhausted my topic on this. As you're listening to the program live here on WDLB, if you've got anything you would like to know, 384-2192, 384-2192 here on today's Insight program. Visiting with Marshfield PD, Lieutenants Travis Esser and Dennis Keffer in here today.
From the kennel to the coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. From training your pup to sit season, to mastering those retrieval skills season. From clipping your horse for competition season, to keeping the backyard birds well-fed season. And of course, loving your pets like family season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it. Because we have it all. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
It's an NFL doubleheader on Sports USA. And first, we're rocking at Arrowhead as Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders come to town looking for a showdown with Mahomes, Kelsey, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Then it's off to Tampa Bay as Tom Brady, Godwin, and Fournette of the Buccaneers host Allen, Diggs, and the tough Buffalo Bills defense. It's the Raiders at the Chiefs, then the Bills at the Bucs. This Sunday on Sports USA.
We start off with the pregame at 11:30 Sunday here
on AM 1450, FM 98.7, WDLB.
AM 1450, FM 98.7, WDLB, live here on this second Friday of the month of December 2021. You may be watching us in video, MFLD TV, on YouTube, on Facebook, they've got a page, and also through the city's website, you can link to some of the videos that they have. The government channel is part of their filming as well, a part of their duties. So you'll see things from council meetings to committee meetings to all kinds of things happening around the city and the county here of civic interest on Channel 989, 990, and in that area, and 991 as well. So we invite you to stop in there once in a while. I forget, and then I see me on there, and I go, no, go somewhere else. I'm not watching. I was there the first time. It wasn't that good. I'm just kidding. Talking with the Marshfield Police Department here, Travis Esser and Dennis Keffer in here on the program, as I said. We talked about the incident, finally something to talk about here besides Mayberry, and citizens arrest Barney, and and I guess that's a good thing. You don't want to have a lot of action or a lot of court cases or discharging of firearms and all of that business that happens around the city. But the story earlier this week, we will have an election, and it looks like because we have 4 candidates for the mayor, we will have a primary coming up in February. And we're also still looking for a police chief and now a fire chief. And the story that I read earlier this week on the news from City Administrator Barg was that they would hope to have this taken care of or some resolution in the first quarter of the year. And I guess you guys know any more?
I don't.
No, I know that they've got people can submit applications up until the 23rd-ish, I think, of this month. And so they've got a nationwide search for the right person to lead our department.
And you guys have been going along pretty smooth.
Oh, yeah.
Without, I guess he made that point, is that both fire and police, there's enough of you that know what's going on, so to speak, that you can keep your duties and keep on rolling without having a person necessarily at the top.
Yeah, well, we've got Acting Chief Zeps here, who's been, kind of steadying the ship for the past, what has it been, year and a half, if that, and doing an excellent job. Perhaps not over-inserting himself, knowing that the city wants to have an opportunity to look and find the person that they want leading the department, but at the same time, making sure stuff is getting done, making sure accountability is still present for us, and then guiding us in other ways.
You know, from a private standpoint, this has nothing to do with you per se. From a private company standpoint, I'm thinking to myself, if we get along that well without the head guy, why do we need the head guy? You know, I mean, at some point in time, we're delegating duties here, and it seems like they're okay with that. But then there's that point you made, which is you're doing that because you know it won't be forever. You know, as you start picking up more duties and everybody's leaving, you're going, well, wait, I can do that, but when's the sunset on this?
Correct. You can only do it for so long, kind of. Yeah.
So, you know, as a private businessman, you go, I got a six-figure guy at the top here who we seem to be working right along. We'll just ride the other horses a little harder, I guess. You know, that's what happens in the business today. And that's why that 39% of the people are looking for another job.
Yeah.
In a statistic I read the other day. How about you, Mr. Keffer, officer? You are ready to hang it up?
Yeah. Thanks, Travis.
You're welcome, Dennis.
Yeah.
I knew it. I was going to get to it at some point.
My last day with the Marshfield Police Department will be on January 7th, and I got a couple of weeks of vacation to bring me to the end of January. But after
you're not old enough to retire.
26 and a quarter years, yeah, I'll be 50 and have over 25 years. I'll have 26 and a quarter, so I meet the minimum requirements, and I'm excited to. We've got a lot of great people at the department. I mean, as is evidenced by their handling the situation yesterday, where probably, I would suspect, half the department was involved in to some degree, or close to it, and a lot of great people with a lot of great minds and a lot of great energy to want to help this community, and so they're ready to step up, and I'm ready to step aside so they can.
I look at you and I'm thinking, here's an old gray beard like me sitting here going, how is that possible? What did I do wrong that I can't do that too?
I got a gray hair somewhere.
When I was going through my interview to get hired at Marshfield Police Department, Dennis was on the interview panel, and I remember there being mostly more experienced officers on the interview panel, and I remember looking at Dennis and thinking, oh, there's a young guy that works here, maybe I'll get to work with him, and Dennis does not look much different than he did back then. He just obviously ages pretty well, so he looks way too young to be retiring. But I've enjoyed working with him this whole time. He's been an outstanding guy to have as sort of a mentor within the department, and has set the bar high for that and helped all of us out in a number of different roles over the years. So definitely going to miss him, and can't say enough good about all that he's done for Marshfield and for us inside the department as well.
Thanks, Travis.
You haven't had enough stress. That's what you're probably. These bags didn't come from easy living because everything went well.
I try to keep it light.
Yeah, that you do, and that's a good thing, especially in a high temperature business like you're involved in. And there's been controversies like the one we're just resolving now as to what's going on, and those things are not in your control, but yet you are looked upon because you wear the badge as knowing what's going on and being a part of it, and in reality, like working in other places, I guess, is what it seems like from what I've been told about what's going on there. So what are you going to do after this here? You're going to...
I got plans. I
wash dishes at Nuts?
Is there a discount? If there is, maybe I got to look into that. I got something that I'm retiring to. I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about it while I'm in uniform, though.
Okay. All right. Fine. I get the no comment quite often from your department, so I can put up with that.
Well, I don't want to advertise, I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay. I've already got insurance.
So I'm a salesman then.
Yeah, you fit the profile. So this time of the year here, as we're talking in December, we're looking down the barrel of snowstorm that we haven't had for a long time, and the department also is going to have to be prepared for that. There's always the fender benders and the accidents, and you tell people don't travel because you don't want to have to go out there and rescue them or write up incident reports and all of that business that goes on in all of that. But the overnight parking ban we had talked about, but now we're going into a snow emergency. Tell me about what that means from your viewpoint.
Well, it means that you can't park on the streets, is the short version. Sometimes we'll give exceptions for the overnight parking for situations when their driveway's getting redone or someone's moving or something along those lines. But no exceptions tonight. From 9 p.m. until 4 p.m. tomorrow on Saturday, there's no parking on the streets to allow the street crews easy access to clear all the roads of snow.
I don't mean to push it, but what do you do if you non-compliance?
Then they'll get a ticket, and at the very least they'll get plowed in and have to get themselves out, but there's the possibility of them getting towed also at their own expense.
I would think that would be the first thing. I mean, I would just take it down. Is there an impound here?
No, most of the time under these circumstances, we have it taken to the tow company's shop, and then they just have to pay the tow company then that fee.
Their bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if there's a citation, that gets taken care of through the usual court channels?
Correct. That's a $25 parking ticket, yep.
Okay. So just so you know here, as we're talking on this second Friday in December, and get the official word, because everybody talks and, well, I think this and I think it works like that. And the overnight ban is just simply for what reason? Because in case it's going to snow?
No, I think generally it is also for snow removal, but it's less urgent. I think is the articulable reason for that, is to kind of setting those terms.
It gives the street department that window in time there between 2:30 a.m. and 6 a.m. when they do a lot of their primary work, when they know there's not a lot of traffic to be dealing with at that point in time, to not also have to plow around all of those parked cars and then get those spaces that none of us like parking in, where the plow had to go around and you gotta walk through foot-deep snow that's been plowed in from the last storm yet. So we want to avoid that if at all possible.
Talking with Lieutenants Dennis Keffer and Travis Esser here on today's Insight program. You can join us live, 384-2192, 384-2192 this morning. One of the things that's kind of a fun thing that came out of that I saw on your Facebook page is an opportunity to redeem for a coffee if we don't have any incidents.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it so that Shift 1 doesn't have to do any crash reports. Well, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make it so the city's safe. That's what I meant. Yeah. And that our insurance rates will stay low, and
right. It's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
Really.
But that came out of a surprise. I know Scotty's a great guy, and it's got a good sense of humor at Scotty's Pizza and Chicken, and so I joked the other day that he would give everyone free pizza without talking to him. So. He took it in stride. But then Tom from Big B is the owner of the Marshfield and I think the Wausau area Big B's, Big B Coffee, chimed in and said, "No, I'll do that. I'll give free brewed coffee to you if we're able to get through the day without a crash." And that happened on Monday or Tuesday or whatever, and we had a crash, so we couldn't do it. But today, so far, we're doing pretty good. That no crashes. The goal is to get to 6 p.m. here today without a state reportable crash in the city of Marshfield.
Then define what that means, though. I don't know the terms here, a state reportable crash.
So we're required to people are required to report any crash that happens where there's over $1,000 worth of damage to any one vehicle or an injury. It also involves $250. There's a lesser requirement of $250 for government property, too. So if you hit a street sign or something like that, and your vehicle's not damaged. But then they're required to notify police, and we're required to file a report with the state. So if those criteria are met here, then unfortunately we'll have to postpone this again.
Well, as long as I'm on the subject, though, does every crash that you are showing up to that requires a report automatically get reported to the state, or are there any that you do that don't get
Correct.
past that?
There are ones that don't. So if you're in the Walmart parking lot and there's just a couple of scrapes, something along those lines, then we just help people exchange information, and they can sort through that civil process on their own or with their help of their insurance companies still.
So even though you arrived, there's no report in a folder somewhere that there was an incident?
There's a computer entry, but not a report. So that's the distinction, is that the dispatchers have the entry with all the information to show that the officer was there and saw the circumstances, but there's not a formal report for those ones. They're always good. My general thought for everybody is if you're involved in any type of crash, that you should call the police. It doesn't hurt to have us out there. And
I don't know what the $1,000 worth is anymore. It used to be you had to hit somebody.
Doesn't take
now
much.
You break the mirror off and it's there it is.
Right.
Yep.
So
it doesn't take much.
Yeah. So even they bumped it up to 1,000. That's still a pretty low threshold for damage on a car.
Correct.
But the point today is if we don't, through the slippery weather today.
Well, through 6 p.m. even, it's going to get worse after that. But I just want to make sure that we get the traffic from school and traffic from work home safely, and that's all I'm asking for. Is that too much?
No.
Is it too much to ask?
Well, I get a cup of coffee out of it, I guess.
Yeah.
And not just anyone. He's got a limitation on that. It's brewed.
The brewed or iced coffee is what he says.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can't get your latte or your fancy macchiato. I don't know what you kids are getting nowadays.
All right, let's go to the phone. Good morning. You're on Insight.
Hey, good morning. This is Officer Josh Larson, Marshfield Police Department. How are you doing this morning?
Good.
Good. Say, I'm here with the entire shift today. Lieutenant Keffer is our supervisor, and we were just hoping that we could say a couple things on the radio real quick and congratulate him on his retirement.
No, I'm sorry, that's not allowed. I don't know why I joke with the cops. They can't turn out well.
Yeah. Well, what can we say? Kef's been with the department for 26 plus years. Dedicated a lot of time and knowledge to the community, and there's really no words that can completely encapsulate the impact that he's had on our community, our officers in the department. Kef, you've dedicated more time and effort to the law enforcement profession than any one of us could ask. You've been a leader, a mentor, and a supervisor, and even a great seamstress for all of us. Your knowledge and vision will forever be ingrained as part of this department's history. The tenacity and drive which you display and promote to others daily will be hard to match, but has set a solid concrete base for many of us who still have our entire career ahead of us. As our leader, you've taught us to always be compassionate and respectful, even in times of chaos or when the patience has run thin. You do an amazing job keeping all of us level-headed and focused on the end goal, which is safety and service to the community as a whole, regardless of the situation we're in. It's an honor to say we had the opportunity to work with you, and we are all better officers and a better community because of it. We wish nothing but happiness and hope you enjoy the next chapter of your life, and know that your law enforcement family will always be there for you. We'll miss all your Kefferisms and one-liners, but most importantly, we're going to miss your leadership and presence around the PD. Congratulations, LT, and thank you for everything.
Thanks, Josh. And it's tailor, not seamstress. I'm a tailor. Isn't that, I think that's how it goes.
He probably did that on purpose.
He probably did.
All right, we'll let you guys get back to the show.
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you much.
All right. We'll deal with this later, he says.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's if you didn't tune into the early portion of the program, Lieutenant Keffer is going to be retiring, along with what seems like half the city at one point or another. It's the way of the. Why we're in a situation that we're in this country. I mean, we had a lot of people. We saw an aging bulge coming through, and now it's starting to happen here as they start to come down. That there's just not enough people to go around. But depending upon your vocation, whether it's police officer, fire chief, or whatever you're doing, there's room to be had for young people today. You can pick your job, it seems like. And
the city's been a great place to work, too. This is, you think of a government job as perhaps nice and steady, and it has been that for me, and so I've appreciated each and every one of the 26 years.
Okay, we'll take a break and be back. You can join us, 384-2192, 384-2192 on the Insight program.
At LG Seeds, we're bringing the seed buying process back to its roots with straightforward service and reliable partnerships. Our diverse selection of genetics and traits gives you all the choices you need to make sure you're getting the right seed for your operation. And if you need help, our expert agronomists stand ready to ensure you get the most from every acre, harvest after harvest. It's everything you need in a seed company and nothing you don't. Learn more at lgseeds.com.
It's been said followers of Jesus live Advent lives in the tension between what is already and what will be.
Advent is a season of expecting. It reminds the followers of Jesus that we are also in this strange, surreal, in-between time of already and not yet.
Dr. Michael Ziegler this week on The Lutheran Hour.
Sunday morning at 8 a.m. right here on AM 1450, FM 98.7, WDLB. WDLB's Insight program here this second Friday in the month of December. I say that, you know that if you're listening live, but if you're watching us on video, which you can do through MFLD TV, through the city's website, or on Channel 989 on your Spectrum Digital tier, up there is where we are located. There's 3 channels, and I talked with Tom on the Insight program last week, the communications director for the city, about how all that worked. If you didn't hear it, did you video that? I don't think he did. He didn't video himself. But
always on the other side of the camera.
Yeah, always. Yeah, that's convenient, huh? Mm-hmm. But no, you can listen to it here on WDLB's website. We archive all of these, is what it's called. Look under community, and you see audio archives, and one of the programs happens to be the Insight program. So, unfortunately, there's audio evidence of everything I've said, and it can be good or bad depending upon whether or not they hold you responsible, or I can exonerate myself from my intentions were good from time to time. The process not only is a chief, that's a little higher up the ranks, but there's people, you're taking some new people on, hiring process always ongoing?
Yep, and we've started that. We've had some interviews yesterday, I think, and so looking to find some other quality officers with great character to join our force. And then we also mentioned during the commercial break about Officer Ament is at canine handler training with her new dog. That'll be coming back to the community in mid to late December.
Was that a retirement that required that opening? A dog?
Oh, the dog, yes, that was Steffi's.
Steffi's retirement,
Yep.
Okay.
An officer has.
How long do they usually have in service?
What is it, 5 to 7-ish years?
Yeah,
maybe.
And what a lot of people don't know is we don't usually get those canines until they're 2-3 years old. So I mean, after that, we get them for their working lifespan of another 5-ish years or so, and then they retire with their handler.
Well, let's go to the phone once again. Good morning. You're on Insight.
Good morning, and this is Chris Hawley over at the Street Department calling in. You guys were talking about the snow emergency, so I just wanted to say that we're going to have the guys out till about 10 p.m. tonight, and probably wondering about the snow emergency starting at 9. I know it's going to look really pretty down by the Rotary Winter Wonderland, but wouldn't recommend traveling tonight after 6, 7 o'clock, and we'll then bring the guys back in early Saturday morning to start cleaning things up. And just wanted to call in and also congratulate Dennis on his retirement. Their department has been great to work with. Thanks to Dennis and Travis and all the lieutenants over there. They help us out a lot during these times of the heavy snowfalls. So I just wanted to call and just kind of get the word out on what our plan was. Stay out till about 10 o'clock tonight and come back in early Saturday morning to clean things up. I know a lot of people listen to this great morning radio show of yours, Jeff, so it's a good opportunity to let the public know what's going on.
What can we do for you? I mean, other than not parking on the street?
Well, obviously, blowing the snow back into the road after we got them cleared up is not a good thing. It's also against city ordinance. So, stay back from the plow truck drivers. They're very hard to see out of. Give them distance and be patient. We're going to get 10 inches of snow tonight. It's going to take us a while to get things cleaned up, and be patient with us. The guys we got a great crew. They're very dedicated to cleaning the roads for you, so you guys can get out and do some Christmas shopping later on Saturday afternoon into late evening. Just have us a little patience with us, and that would be great.
All right, I appreciate your time. I'll be in touch sometime soon here when we have situations like this.
Sounds great, Jeff. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, bye.
Chris Hawley, a street superintendent for City of Marshfield here, reiterating the fact that we do have a snow emergency in effect, going into effect tonight across the city because of the anticipated snowfall that we're looking at here and all the communities around the area. It's kind of a domino effect. The problems that you guys have, responding? You don't want to be out? I mean, when it snows like this, what kind of stuff do you talk about in the halls going, oh, great?
Yeah, prioritizing, and then making sure that we've got vehicles. That's always been a concern. I remember that from, 20 years ago, making sure that we had the right vehicles, and now we've got better vehicles for winter driving, some of the F-150s and all-wheel drive vehicles to be able to get around. Because I remember a couple of nights back in the day, if I may, where we didn't respond unless we had a four-wheel drive vehicle, and there was just two officers that went out in it, and we're handling most of the calls then.
Was that yours or a private vehicle? I mean, was it a city?
It was a city vehicle, but I don't think it was a patrol vehicle. It was maybe one of the detective vehicles that maybe had four-wheel drive or something like that.
Yeah, we really only used to have a couple of those available to us, but like you said, that's gotten a lot better. So pretty much everything we have now is all-wheel drive, and it really does make a difference when we have nights like we're about to have.
I thought about going down to the Armory, get one of those half tracks. We should be able to get through. Get through with a deuce and a half there. We'll smoking up to that place. You won't wonder if they're coming. They don't have lights on them, but they'll hear you coming. Those kind of things. Yeah, talking with the guys here about what happens in this type of, and I asked, in this type of weather, I asked the street superintendent what we can best do. I guess it's obvious, but what would you say best practices here would you want people to know when it comes to weather like this?
Yeah, stay home, relax, be patient with your family. Go to separate rooms if you have to.
If people aren't out there, I mean, that's the main thing. But if they do have to go out, I think it's big what Chris said, just give those guys some extra space, because I can imagine driving one of those trucks and having a wing out the side and a plow in the front that you're trying to keep track of and try not to hit mailboxes and things like that, but then also to have impatient people maybe creeping up on you with vehicles that are, I'm sure very hard to see out your side mirror and stuff. So just give those guys that extra space, and they're trying to help all of us by getting those roads clear. So give them a little bit of grace.
We'll take our last break here and wrap up our conversation on the Insight program today here on AM 1450, FM 98.7 WDLB. Oh, before I do here, though, the phone is ringing again. Let's go to the phone. Good morning. You're on the Insight program.
Yeah, I just have a comment kind of about the four-wheel drive situation. I remember the county, in particular, we had a county comp for a neighbor in the 90s, and they were driving these rear-wheel drive sedans yet. Why was that such a prolonged process to make the switch to something practical as is four-wheel drive for the winter conditions? That like I say, that was practice. It was a two-wheel drive long after there was four-wheel drive.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer, huh? But I think a lot of the decisions that get made are made for financial reasons also. Obviously trying to save the taxpayers as much money as possible, but while still having effective and efficient services. So that's the only answer I can think of. It's also possible, too, that some of the vehicles that were made as police package vehicles were not designed for our environment, maybe.
Right. Some of those SUVs for quite some time weren't really designed with the absence of rollover issues that we could be using those as vehicles that we might need to travel at high rates of speed. And so initially those weren't practical or safe for us to have for other reasons, but they've since made those available to us, and we can use those in that manner if we need to.
It used to be with the big motor, and it was an Interceptor, or they had names for those vehicles that were equipped to do such things in order for people to run, but high-speed pursuits are not in fashion anymore, to say the least.
Yeah,
they still happen.
Yeah, enough. There's more of them than we would like.
Yeah.
Well, all right. We'll wrap it up here in just a moment. Don't go away.
It's open season on cancer, so help us hunt for a cure by purchasing a hat or t-shirt that helps the Ronald McDonald House in Marshfield. Hats or t-shirts are available at Central Wisconsin Cost Cutters, Pro Cuts, the Barber's Family Hairstyling, Mullins Cheese in Knowlton, and Gander Mount of Wausau. For just $20, you'll receive a hat or t-shirt and over $49 worth of money-saving certificates from participating sponsors. So thanks for supporting the Ronald McDonald House of Marshfield and a season that never ends.
WDLB's Insight program here for the second Friday in the month of December. Been talking with our monthly visit with Marshfield PD. Today, Travis Esser and Dennis Keffert. Last time on the show for you, huh? You'll be done by the time we get around to do it next month.
Yep.
Or on vacation.
Yeah, I'll be on vacation.
Yeah. He's still taking on the payroll.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
You got to burn up the vacation time.
Oh, I agree.
I'll spend my time serving the city until then.
Well, thank you for all your time and effort. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Here on today's Insight program on WDLB.
AM 1450, FM 98.7, WDLB.